Joining us now is Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, thank you for joining us. So, Congressman, I want to try to get your reaction here. The reports are still coming in. It seems as if Russia intercepted 2 U.S. fighter jets over the Baltic Sea. There's still some confusion as to what they were doing there. I don't quite know the atmospherics of who actually controls the Baltic Sea. And I guess now that Finland I guess Finland is part of NATO. Is that part of it? What is your just initial reaction to some of the geopolitical confusion that we're seeing under this administration?
Well, look, Charlie, you're the first person getting me this information. I was on the floor. One of the reasons was I'm a little late to be with you on the floor going through some side conversations around debt ceiling. But a couple things. One, and this is a big one, we do not have real leadership at the top in the United States. Russia and China are much more aggressive than they have been, frankly, in quite some time. Definitely, they weren't this aggressive when President Trump was in office. And so we're going to continue to see, in my opinion, issues like this, because at the end of the day, they don't think Joe Biden's tough enough to hold them accountable. And you can get into all the gravitas of past relationships and all the other stuff that foreign policy experts try to talk about. But at the end of the day, foreign policy is about, I'm strong, and do you truly think I'll do the thing you don't want to see me do? It's about strength. And right now they're not seeing it in America, and that's really concerning. So for our pilots that are over there, number one is for their safety and that they get home safely, and for their families, just stay tuned and keep your prayers up. Mm-hmm. Make sure nothing happens to our men and women who happen to be in this entanglement right now.
All right. I want to shift gears for a second here to the debt ceiling, and then we have a break. Congressman, what is the latest on the debt ceiling? Kevin McCarthy's driving a hard bargain. Joe Biden says we're still very, very far away from a deal. 1 minute. What can you share?
Well, they're still in there. They're pushing hard right now as we speak. My attitude is if Joe Biden can't be serious, it might be time to start talking to senators. Senate is not even in this week, so you could tell how serious they look at this situation.
It's an existential threat. Don't bother my vacation, right?
Yeah, but they're not here. But it might be time to start talking to the U.S. senators and saying, let's maybe they come up with a deal, pass something out of the Senate, and then we sit down and talk through that deal. Because Joe Biden is not leading the country. Surprise, surprise.
We're going to talk about this after the break, Congressman, of some of the specifics. Joe Biden wants more revenue. He wants, of course, tax increases. But I don't think Joe Biden is negotiating in good faith, because all of his proxies, they're singing in harmony. You have Sweatshirt Shrek, Fetterman, and you have all these other people talking about the 14th Amendment. They don't want to work through you guys, which is completely unconstitutional. We'll talk about that in a second, Congressman. Welcome back, everybody. Email us, freedom@charliekirk.com. Congressman Byron Donalds is with us. So, Congressman, my fear, though, and maybe you can help walk us through this, is there might be a catastrophic move by Republican leadership to say, hey, we're going to get enough of kind of our more moderate members and Democrats and get this hiked. So what I'm saying, though, is we should ask for serious cuts, but we don't control everything. Is that fair to say? That we have to take a good deal when we have it? I don't think we have a good deal yet. But I don't think somebody said earlier, we control all the cards. No, that's not true. They'll get enough Democrats and enough more moderate Republicans to hike the debt ceiling with very little concessions. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. And that's one of the concerns. I'd spend time talking to some members, and stuff like that. And so a lot of members are in different places, depending on where you are in the country. You got some who are basically like, look, I just need a deal to just go ahead and get this thing done and get it over with. And so that's a real concern. I think from the conservative side of the conference, what we've been saying is hold firm. We're the only game in town in terms of where a deal actually has been passed that's actually alive to get to the president's desk. So we have a strong position. We don't hold all the cards, but I think we have a good number of cards. And I think
we do.
If we manage this right, we will actually end up getting a very good deal for the American people. So
let's talk some specifics if you're comfortable. What do you think some of those concessions would be that are realistic? What do you think?
It's tough, Charlie. It's really tough to put this out here. And typically I don't like doing that. But now when they're in the room negotiating this stuff, I don't really want to put anything and peel it off the table because my position's clear. To raise the debt ceiling about $1.5 to $2 trillion, we should be cutting about 4.8 to 5 trillion. That's
Yes.
easy stuff. And then the other thing that we should definitely be doing is pulling back these Inflation Reduction Act subsidies, because that stuff, all it is tax cuts for the rich who believe in this crazy Green New Deal stuff, which is going to set back our energy matrix in the United States. So why would we subsidize these Solyndra type companies to make billions of dollars doing business with China, and the American people fall behind? Makes no sense at all to me. And so, it's funny. You have the White House and you have the Democrats. They're the ones who now support these quote unquote tax cuts for the rich.
That's a great point. And by the way, just so everyone understands, there's still tens of billions, and by some estimates, hundreds of billions of unspent money. We're talking about employee retention credits. We're talking about COVID relief stuff. And this is a different show that we'll do at a different time. But the amount of fraud and abuse, Congressman, as you well know, that came to the COVID money surge was in the tens of billions of dollars, right? DOJ's having a field day going after scam artists and all this. So, Congressman, let me just paint not so much of a hypothetical, but I want your position. Joe Biden's a traitor to the country. I've said it before. But let's say he's negotiating in good faith. And he says, okay, I'll give you domestic if you do some foreign. Is there any wiggle room in the Republican caucus to say, hey, we'll cut some of the woke military, or because some Republicans are saying you're not going to get $1 out of the defense budget. Where do you stand on that?
Look, if you're talking about the woke programming in DOD, as far as I'm concerned, that can go immediately. I'll be the first one to support those cuts. Secondarily, I think, and this is something we were talking about with dealing with the National Defense Authorization Act that's to come later this year, is procurement reform, actually beginning that work, because we have a situation where we have defense contractors who, whether they deliver or not, the money gets spent. That's a problem. So we shouldn't be doing that at all. So I think if you want to get rid of those woke programming, dealing with procurement reform to really help DOD be a lean, mean fighting machine, we should definitely do that as well. Yeah,
so what you just articulated is super reasonable, and that shows that Republicans want to get a deal done. Look, you can't get everything that you want, but the Democrats are saying, again, Joe Biden, he's so disingenuous, and his puppet people, the puppet masters. And they say, oh, really, what do you guys want to do on foreign policy? And they always go after the military, right? But you just articulated, look, there's some, okay? We'll come to some meat. But hey, Joe, why don't we cut this ridiculous explosion of trillions of dollars of spending, hundreds of billions of dollars of unspent money, the crony green energy subsidies? You got to give a little. And that's why they like the 14th Amendment idea so much, Congressman, is because they don't want to deal with you. They think you're an annoyance. They think the American people are irritating to their regime aims and ambitions. And so you can't push too far. And Congressman, you've been super prudent on this, and our audience agrees. But some people say, oh, Charlie, we have all the cards. No, we have most of the cards. There is a scenario where leadership could go to Democrats to raise the ceiling and we get nothing. So we got to strike it right at the crescendo, right at the proper climax, sell at a high mark, and then move towards the spending bill. Congressman, thank you so much. Appreciate your leadership.
Anytime. Thanks, Charlie.